welcome back again to my third part of our homeschool curriculum series. This is the third and final curriculum overview of the things that I've picked for my third student, which will be going into fourth grade. If you are curious about my other students, I have created videos for them. Perhaps you've already watched them, but I have a first grader and a kindergartner this year, so or like K4, I guess. Anyway, so this is going to be what I have picked out for my fourth grader. Kind of as I've mentioned, in case this is your first video that you're watching, I've organized our school year completely different this year than I have in the past. So I will have a separate video that's going to cover our family school subjects. And this video will be his desk work. These are his level work, but I've put a lot of subjects and electives in our family studies and kind of our looping schedule where we're going to just cover a lot of different things that all of the kids can learn all together. So this isn't a comprehensive list, obviously, of all of his studies, but it's the main subjects that he needs to do at his level that I feel need to have kind of like work text with it or one-on-one time with me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, and the last little announcement, which you may have heard in other videos, is that another change that I made to our school year this year is that I have organized our year by semester or in chunks of weeks. So this first chunk is 7 weeks, and that is going to bring us to a point where then I will find new curriculum and new unit studies and just kind of like refresh a bunch of stuff that is in our classroom. So these materials will pretty much stay constant, but there will be some other things that come in. And at that point, I will reevaluate and decide whether or not what we have here is working or if I'm going to change it. In previous years, when something's not working, I feel like I kind of hobble along for a little bit too long until I decide to toss it out the window. And I feel like with this new plan, I can just tell in my brain, like, okay, we're going to give it a try for 7 weeks, give it our best shot. And if it's not working at the end of 7 weeks, then we will reevaluate and find something new, instead of in previous years where I just do it for like 10 days and then I'm like, I'm bored with this, or we're not excited about this anymore. I hope it'll just kind of make that mindset shift where it's like, hey, just try it out for the full 7 weeks, which isn't 5 days a week. It's not 35 days. Some of my weeks are shortened because of activities or whatever it is that we're doing. And so anyway, that was a really long introduction, but just all of that to say that this isn't a comprehensive, set in stone list, and know that things always change. So if you're new, then you can subscribe to my channel if you want to. I do a series called Our Homeschool Life and periodically update you throughout the school year, like real time unfolding of how things are working here on our side of the mountain. So all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. So the first and foremost is Bible study, and this is going to be a part of our family school, but I am tossing it in here as a part of this video because I know many of my viewers out here are Christian and do like to include character studies or Bible studies as a part of their school day. So I'll talk about it again when we do the family video, but this is going to be our character study this year. I just found this new company. Well, they're new to me, and they have all of these character qualities. So I have picked about 6 of the character qualities that are developed characters of Christ, and they connect them to Bible stories, and then they have just a lot of extension activities that you can do. So I use this as a base. This is from the company IBLP. And I've created kind of just a little curriculum, you could say walkthrough of that character quality for the first 7 weeks of our class time together. And that's what this is here, is I've just written down other resources that I want to hit on, songs that I want to sing, crafts that I want to do. And I looked at YouTube and Pinterest and all of these other places just to try to expand on the base that is here. And then the other place where I went this is Character First Education. And I'm sorry if this is a repeat for you because I did talk about this in my daughter's video, but They have like an animal story that correlates with the character quality. And so I'm not sure if these two resources are from the same company and like this one's the younger crowd and this one's the older crowd. Like, I'm not sure, but I really love, they have like poems and songs and other resources that you can print out. So while we listen to the story about the deer and attentiveness, then my kids can color this. I have a mobile craft that we're gonna do. Other books that we're going to read, just like library books that exemplify this characteristic of attentiveness. So that is that. Number 2 is mathematics. So this year, I know it's going to be shocking. All of my previous years, I've used Horizons and I still love Horizons. However, when we finished Horizons at the end of last year, I was just really tired of fractions and I was like, I just need a break. So I know that Horizons curriculum is a little bit accelerated compared to other curriculums. And so because of that, I felt like we could take this first chunk of school time to just kind of take a step back and do something different. So we are doing Christian light education, and this is level 3 mathematics. And a dear friend that is sweet and dear to me now, we met through YouTube, through this platform. She reminded me of Christian light education. I did it back with my oldest when he was in like preschool and kindergarten. We did their kindergarten light units together. So it was just kind of like fun. We're heading back to Christian light education and she sent me some books that she was no longer using with her students. So we started it with our summer school and got through the first 2 lessons. I know, like really great. Anyway, so we're just gonna like hop into here. Now, it's not in color, and if you've been here for a minute, you know I love when things are colorful, but they are very approachable, and I've just like written down a few pages to do together, and it's just a lot of practice. There are a few concepts in here that every time they come up, like a part of me is like, let's just not worry about that. I'm a grown adult and I don't know anything about like measurements and how to convert feet to meters or whatever. Like, I don't know, like some of those things I still kind of bypass, and maybe I need to not do that anymore. But it is just, we are going to focus specifically. I have on my list of things to get still is a deck of flashcards. We are going to go through flashcards and memorize those math facts that we've kind of just, I mean, he knows some of them, but others of them he doesn't. We've tried it with music. We've tried it with videos. We've tried lots of different things. And so we're just going to keep trying. And it's funny because he has memorized the same families that I have. And now in my older years, I still don't know 6, 7, and 8. And so he knows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 9, and 10. And I am the same way. So I'm like, well, I guess maybe I shouldn't like pass on my handicaps to you. And so we're going to focus more on those. So, okay. The next subject is going to be language arts. So he is going to be doing spelling with, I have 2 books for spelling that we're going to do. One of them I have not ordered yet, and that's going to be spelling UC, and he's going to be doing level B, I believe is Jack and Jill. Maybe that's level A. Anyway, so he's going to be doing level B work, and then we'll do one of those pages a day. It is a lower level, I understand, but we are working at a lower level pace, and that is just where he is, and I'm fine with that. We are going to be doing spelling 3. Again, I realize he's in grade 4, but this is just the pattern that we're doing here in our lives, and it is fine. And so this is just your standard, like memorize the list, do a few activities, and then regurgitate the list at the end of the week. And so I felt like this would give him a memorization platform for a little bit more of his grade level. And then going back and doing spelling UC will give him a little more just phonetic practice as well as handwriting. So anyway, that's where we're going with that. And these books, I got one for my daughter. So if you're coming over here after her video, then you can get an idea. So again, it's just a list, a bunch of words, some review words from weeks prior. And then these are memory words that have, unique spelling. and then just a bunch of activities. Now, I also am going to create a page. It'll just be like a 1-page piece of paper that'll go with his spelling for every week so that he can practice just writing the words. So when he starts his spelling day, then he'll get out his list as well as this other addendum page that I'm going to create. And he will just practice writing the words and covering them up and all of those kinds of things where it's just strict right. So it's kind of a memorization approach as opposed to a phonetic approach. Be that as it may, that's what we're going to try this year. And then for his language, we are doing Abeka. This is language A, and it's going to just cover his writing and grammar. And we haven't done a whole lot of actual writing, like write a story before, and that will be a part of something that we're going to do in family school to write paragraphs. But this is going to hopefully help him just organize good sentence structure, as well as just grammar, like what's a noun, the writing. Oh, see, the writing process is in here. And as a part of our family studies, we will have journaling where he will need to, write a full journal entry, which will include, paragraphs and separate thoughts and that sort of thing. But anyway, so I just went through, and anything like that was chunked together is considered a lesson in my brain. So he would do unless it was like writing a whole story, like this one, we're going to be discovering order in language and writing a story about whatever. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. I just divided it up into our days. So it is colorful, which is kind of nice. And I, don't even know if there was like a teacher's manual that goes with it. I'm sure there probably is, but I did not get it. We're just going to go through the book together. So there is that, and that pretty much, oh no. So, okay, so that's spelling and then grammar and writing. And then the last little part of writing and / reading is going to be, these are the Magic Treehouse. I almost said Magic School Bus. The Magic Treehouse series I have up through book 28. We have done these before. It's been a couple of years. I read them to my kiddos. And so I am going to have him do it on his own. And with each one, there is a shop on Teachers Pay Teachers that has created like a little whatever notebook type thing. I don't know. It's just like a bunch of pages stapled together, I guess. Anyway, it just goes through and has a chapter. For each chapter, it's here's some vocabulary words, and here's a little activity, and here's a couple of reading comprehension questions, that sort of thing. And these are really good sized chapters. I feel like that, my student won't get too bored. I think it's a little below his quote reading level, but I am more interested in him just reading words and being interested in what he's reading than I am about him getting into a big hefty chapter book. And so that's kind of where we're going to go at. He has gotten really into the Boxcar Children now. And so our local library has a bunch of the Boxcar Children books. And once he finishes the Magic Treehouse, then we'll be able to kind of transfer over and find something new that kind of fits his jam. But once again, this is the first 7 weeks of school. So if we finish 7 weeks of school and for whatever reason, he has only finished one book, right? Or maybe 1.5, then I'm going to have a sit down evaluation and figure out is this a book problem? Is this an attention problem? Is this a mom problem where I'm not, adhering to my expectations well enough? Because I feel like sometimes I set a plan in place and then within 3 to 4 weeks, that plan is completely dissolved and I don't ever address it again and pick up the shambles and try to recreate something that works. So that's kind of the hope of having these chunks of weeks, is that I'll be able to identify the shambles and then pick them up again and be like, hey, well, you need to read. And it's interesting because when I was growing up in school, I was never a reader. I rarely read the assigned text for my English classes. clear up through my college days. And so I want to make reading interesting by giving him books that he likes to read instead of books that the world thinks are qualified for his age level or whatever. So we're going to start with that. I do have a couple of classic tales that I've purchased in years past, things like Swiss Family Robinson and I can't remember the other ones, but we may use those, but we've got lots of books. So that's kind of where we're going to go with that. So that rounds out all of his English subject. Okay, so for science, I forgot his science. Let me grab that. Okay, so for science, we are going to be pulling from 3 different books. 2 of them are Evan Moore, and this one is Draw Right Now. So the way that I'm organizing science is, again, in our 6 to 7 week chunks. And so we're starting with this one. This is Daily Science 4. And this book is divided up into what they call big ideas. And then each idea is divided up into weeks. So the first big idea is about plants and animals depending on their habitat and environment for survival. And then there's 5 weeks worth of work. I am expanding that into 7 weeks. So, and again, each week is not 5 days of school. Some of those weeks are shortened for various reasons, but it is going to be over the course of 7 weeks, 7 calendar weeks. Anyway, and so that's just this one right here. That's all I have planned out so far. And then I coupled that with a couple of other things. I talked about it in my other kiddos video, but I have these kind of science activities that are going to go with it. I have several YouTube videos and learning things that are going to go with it. I have this one. My son loves to draw, so we're going to do Draw Right Now. And when we're talking about, in fact, there's a whole section about beavers, and so we're going to actually draw the beaver. There's a whole section about forest animals that we're doing with one of our unit studies. So this is a forest animal. Anyway, so it's just going to kind of bring in a lot of different resources as we explore this idea of animals and plants depend on their environments for survival. And so that's going to cover kind of the basis of his beginning, whatever. Now, we've talked a lot about habitats before in previous years. And I did a whole video that just went out a couple days ago about how to approach science and just kind of like my experience with kind of how to teach science and how science all came together for our family. But anyway, so that is where we're starting with that. The other resource that I have is Skill Sharpeners Science. This is level 4 as well, or grade 4 rather. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did. I'm just going to like go to the front of the page and be like, okay, this is the concept that we're going to study, and just kind of go through it and divide it up and then couple it with other pieces of activities. Now, I do have planned for this year a unit study about marine animals. When we get to that, I'll do a whole video that just like lines all of that up for you guys and what that's going to look like and the resources that we're doing. But that'll be very much a science-based unit study. So that'll kind of go under that. And then we do have some peppering in of science-based content in our Little House of the Big Woods unit study, which we're going to be starting at the beginning of the year. So science is something that's kind of a living subject, and so there's not a lot of like, I don't know, beginning to end book work that goes with it. That's how I've done it in the past, but we're not doing that this year, so pray for us that it works out. So okay, my last subject of study is going to be history, and history is always near and dear to my heart. So we are doing, this is the Knot Grass Company, Our Star Spangled Story, and I've only purchased the text part 1. I did not purchase the timeline. I did not purchase the student workbook, and I looked at the student workbook, but I decided not to go with it for the same reasons that I have not purchased student workbooks with previous publishers that I've gone with. I always feel, I think that I'm hyper aware of busy work and giving our students something to do just for the sake of having like a product to prove that we did it. And as a public school teacher, I knew that that's what was required of me to prove that we were actually working in class. I had to prove it to the administration and to parents and all that kind of stuff. But as a homeschooler, I'm hyper aware of giving my students busy work. And that's what I felt like this student workbook was, as well as other student workbooks for publishers I've used in the past. And to kind of expand on that, I feel like having your student color a picture, having your fourth grader color a picture of, I don't know, a pilgrim because you're learning about the first Thanksgiving, or having your student color a picture of the Mayflower. There's a time and a place for that. And I feel like in the younger years, you're teaching them fine motor skills and how to hold pencils and how to color within the lines and all of that kind of structure stuff. But as a fourth grader, my student's very aware of that. So to purchase a student workbook where that's their requirement at the end of the lesson is to color a picture, or even to like do a multiple choice kind of questionnaire about stuff that you read, is kind of a turnoff for me. So that's one reason why I did not choose to purchase that book. And perhaps that's like a teacher background issue that I have, or maybe it's just a personal choice. I hope that if you chose to buy it, or if you do choose to buy it, I'm not saying that that's a bad choice. It's just for me, I like to create more work for myself. Apparently, I can't ever leave well enough alone. So with this book, I'm going to be making a lot of supplemental stuff through videos and the library and content that I create as we go through it. So to kind of start off, the first section is just about Native Americans and the start of America. And so I have a lap book. Is it a lap book that I made? Yeah. I made a lap book several years ago, and it's very transferable to fourth grade. And so I'm going to be having my fourth grader do it, which is convenient because my first grader is going to do it with her work towards the end of the school year. But anyway, I really liked this book because it has photographs as opposed to illustrations. So that is always a plus in my book. And then I also really like that they approach history from the point of view of a person. And some of these chapters will actually talk about a specific person's experience. So let me see if I can give you an example. This is Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death. So you're going to be talking about Patrick Henry and his story. And then we've got A Midnight Ride with Paul Revere. And so it really takes the historical event from the perspective of a person. And I like that because my interest in history is always social. I'm always very interested in the stories of people. How did they experience that? How did this event affect them? What was life like for them during that time period? And I felt like this book approached history in that manner, where you're learning about specific people and how they interacted with their communities and with their lives to create a historical whatever story. Here we have George Washington at Mount Vernon. And unfortunately, on our big road trip, we did not go to Mount Vernon because hashtag 2020, and you had to have a ticket to attend in a time slot. And I got on too late that they were all gone. But anyway, here we're talking about circuit riders and camp meetings. William Henry Harrison, and I'm not going to say his name right. But anyway, I just am really excited about it. And I think that as we continue to go through it, it'll be, it's going to be a growing curriculum, a living curriculum, if you will, because I will build it as we go through it. And I have a few pre-templates, I guess you could say, of biographies and stories and that sort of thing. But lots of times it just comes to me as I'm reading the material. So my curriculum and my lesson planning may only be a day or two ahead of where I am with my son. But my plan is that when he starts his history lesson, we will read it together out loud, and then whatever activity I have planned or video or extra content that I have, we'll just kind of experience it together. And if it's a craft, then my kids will do it with them. So this is where we're going to start. Now, we may not get through this whole book because I have a few other plans that we're doing as a part of unit studies. And when our unit study covers a historical time frame, then this isn't going to be like so important for us to get through. This is just kind of like, hey, we're taking a break from a unit study. Let's talk about American history. Let me talk about 2 or 3 fun things that I have planned. So the first fun thing that is very historical is we are doing Little House in the Big Woods. And there's a lot of good draws from history that I'm going to be pulling from that book as a part of our unit study. So that's number 1. A second unit study, my son has expressed interest in ancient Rome and specifically Pompeii and the Romans and the volcano and all that kind of stuff. So that will be a unit study, very historically based. So we will talk a lot about that. And then our third unit study is going to be just the geography of the United States, which will come a lot in our family school. We're going to be doing map work every day. I have geography that I'm going to be getting, the Evan Moore Daily Geography book, which I don't have right now. And then towards the end of the year, maybe in the middle, I'm going to be giving him an assignment to plan a road trip to a state that he wants to see and a destination that he wants to go to. He is in 4th grade, so he has a National Parks Pass this year. We will be doing a national park visit on this particular road trip that he will plan under my supervision. And then we're going to take that road trip. So that is probably going to be the highlight of his 4th grade social studies work, is creating a road trip for our family to take to a destination and then filling in with all of those other fun road stop sites that we like to do as a family on road trips we've taken in the past. So that kind of wraps up a pretty good idea of what his 4th grade year is going to look like. And once again, this is, I feel like with every year, it's just constantly moving and growing, and we change with the seasons as he grows and I learn, and we kind of figure out what is working and what's not working. So all of those changes I do update you on as we go through the school year, and by the end of the year, sometimes everything looks completely different than what it looks like today. But that's our plan. That's our plan of attack when we get started. And it is a lot of front loading and it's a lot of work on my part, but I love just being a part of my kids' education and knowing what they're learning and being able to learn with them and experience with them. So anyway, thanks again for watching another one of my videos. And if you have questions about any of this stuff, feel free to ask me or check the description box below. I will put links there for anything that you want to grab. A few of those links may be affiliate links, which essentially just means it's a referral that I'm referring it to you. And then if you choose to purchase at no extra cost to you, I do get a little kickback from that. So there's that disclaimer for that. So, all right, I think that covers this video. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in another one.